Automotive gauge. As you can see, I'm a huge motorhead, so that's what I'm here to talk about. Is my passion, which is cars. So basically, right here is a 2014 Corvette dash. A lot of the new cars, a lot of the new exotic cars are going to a digital dash opposed to your traditional analog gauge.
Can you all see? Come on here.
So my inspiration for this idea came from watching the Pikes Peak Hill Climb last year. Reese Millen set the record last year at under 10 minute, a little bit over 12 miles and 156 corners. I was watching the in-car video of his run, and I'm watching the dash, and as you can see, it's your traditional digital watch technology that he's looking at to know when to shift and when to do everything like that. And my thought is, wouldn't it be easier to have a high definition, high resolution image on the screen that when it's time to shift or do something, it flashed a different color or something along that line. So this is kind of one of the first digital gauges. Somebody actually asked me about this earlier. This is the 1980s Corvette. They used to call it the Disco Dash. Yeah. As you can see, there's a lot going on there. Kind of looks like your alarm clock a little bit with the old traditional digital gauges. This is one of the first new modern digital gauges. This is on the Nissan GTR. They still have the traditional analog gauges for the speedometer and the tach, but the designers of Gran Turismo racing game, in place of a navigation system, has all your different digital gauges that you can switch through to basically read out anything you possibly want, but it's still your navigation system. Now the first round digital gauge that kind of emulates the traditional analog is on the Lexus ISF. The reason they switched from an analog gauge to digital gauge, the engine is based on an F1 car, and the engine revs faster than the analog gauge could keep up with. So they had to go to a digital looking analog gauge. So my idea is, since the new exotic cars and a lot of the other regular new cars are switching to digital gauges that emulate the traditional analog gauge, is to take the traditional analog gauge aftermarket, which basically comes in two different sizes, a 3-inch, which is your RPM and mile per hour, that kind of stuff, and then your 2-inch gauges, which is your fuel, your volts, your oil pressure, that kind of stuff, and convert all those into digital gauges that you can customize to do anything you want. We'll stick with the traditional size of 3-inch and 2-inch. All aftermarket cars, they come with different, gauge package clusters that you can replace your gauges with.
The big stuff on your dash.
Yeah. So here's the traditional market. As you can see, this is a '67 Mustang. This is Eleanor from the movie Fast and Furious. It has the aftermarket traditional analog gauges that replace the 1960s gauges. This is a new Honda Civic. They replaced the whole gauge cluster with a combination of a digital and analog gauge. So it's both your new and old cars, and import and domestic cars. So, and they, like I said, they make different clusters that you can replace any car's gauges. You can new Mustang, new Camaro. I've seen it with Lamborghinis, everything like that. So here's what the current digital gauge market is. As you can see,
oh, that's one on the left.
Yeah. This is actually the biggest seller of digital gauges in the aftermarket digital gauge. And as you can see, it looks exactly the same as the 1980s Corvette.
Yeah.
So they're still using the same technology, and as everybody else is progressing in the automotive industry, this market's kind of stayed stagnant. I think one of the first people to basically take on this product would be the high dollar aftermarket custom cars. This is a one-of-a-kind analog gauge that costs several $1,000s just to make your car look different than somebody else's. So I think they'll adapt it right away because of the functionality and the uniqueness. So here's a brand new Lamborghini, same thing, digital gauge, but emulating the traditional analog gauge. The idea would be that you could use it for like a marketing car where you could put your logo in the background. You put a family picture, you could change it to your navigation system. You could, if you're a racer, you could put the track data behind it so you know where the curves are, all that kind of stuff. Product release, I would recommend releasing it at SEMA. This is in Las Vegas every year. It's special equipment market. Basically, it's 130,000 attendees You have to be part of the automotive industry, or you get kicked out. I know, I got kicked out.
Better get back in there with a gauge.
But I did get to see a lot of really cool stuff before, before I went.
Fail fast, man. Fail fast.
So,
That explains the shaved head.
now, my wife and I do own a defense contracting company that does stuff in the automotive industry. It was the last day, and since we were considered a manufacturer, it was $200 a person for 4 hours, so we just left when they asked us to. But that aside, they asked us to leave politely, and I tried to sneak back in. She didn't think it was a great idea. But so 130,000 attendees, all in the automotive industry. You have to show your website, your business card, anything to get into the door, and pay up front. 60,000 domestic and international buyers there, looking for the next new product to put in their catalog, put in their cars, to do any, all different kinds of stuff with. Now, they also give out the Best New Product Award. Now, those best new products in each different sector of the industry get press releases through every major automotive magazine as well. So, so basically, my needs and my wants are, I came up with an idea a while back, but I did not, really go forward with it. I was asked to present, so I need everything.
All right.